and cat out of.
All right, Ted, you're ready.
Hey, you're listening to the Self-Publishing Roundtable with news and stuff and things. Today we got CK from the Self-Publishing Roundtable.
Hello.
And we've got Cate Morgan, Monkey Type. Hey, Cate Morgan. And I am Robert Chazz Chute of allthatchazz.com. And we are hitting Self-Publishing Roundtable news and stuff and things right now. CK, take it away.
Thank you, Chazz. Hello, all. I'm Chrishuan, Keller, Hanna. Welcome to the Self-Publishing Roundtable News Roundup, where we talk about news and things.
And stuff.
And stuff. Oh, Miss, talking to you for a couple of weeks here, and we've got about 4 things on the roster. But first, we want to go around and see how everyone is doing. First of all, let's go back to Chazz. How are you, man?
I am recovering. I am all right. I am writing like mad. I have not done my taxes yet, and I'd rather write a novel. So I'm chugging through a new novel, a new kind of apocalypse, and I'm having a really good time with it. Far too good to deal with such things as taxes.
Oh.
Hey, kids, I don't recommend doing this. You should do your taxes. But hey, instead, there's novels and drugs and novels. That's what we do.
Oh, and is tax day the same day in Canada than it is here?
No, you've got April 15th, and we have until the end of the month. So I have another 6 days to not do them.
Oh, good. And what's going on with you, Cate?
Cate is finishing a book this week. One I'm really excited to get out of the gates. It's a sci-fi western. The cover came out beautifully. I just got to get through that home stretch of revisions, man.
Yes.
And then I can collapse before starting the next one.
She's going the distance. Yes.
I need to watch the theme song. Yes. So, and my taxes are done, but it's only because my husband does them. So.
Yes. Same here. My taxes are done because my father-in-law is an accountant, and we would not hear the end of it unless they're done.
I might have to leave because I only speak to people who don't do their taxes because they make me feel better about myself.
Oh,
we should move on briskly.
Yes, let's move on briskly.
There's always testing the theory as a writer. Your internet search history plus not doing your taxes. Let's see how long it takes the NSA to show up on your doorstep asking for science.
I think if they were going to, they would have hit me by now. With Hellfire missiles. And CK, what are you working on?
I am also in the final stretch of Black Goat and Sage, the first book in the Tales of Alazar. It's going up for pre-order. Matter of fact, Friday. So we're going to.
And we have a story about pre-orders today too, don't we?
I know. Such a wonderful segue. Yeah.
Oh, let's hit that segue hard.
Yes. Let's hit it with our axes.
Let's Dukes of Hazzard and just increase the speed here on the old whatever the name of the car was. What's the name of the car in the Dukes of Hazzard?
Right. All right, then our first article is actually from Joe Conrath, who's talking about how if you're a pro, how you're supposed to deal with ebook pre-orders and how do they work. First of all, you have to put yourself in a deadline. Because that is, if anything, being banned from Amazon for a year should be the biggest, a big motivator, especially and then sales. The fact that the pre-book sales also add to your rank almost immediately, and also being able to do, also able to get buzz. And then there's a couple of other deadlines. Sorry, not deadlines, but a couple of the cons, including, oddly enough, deadlines, sales, and not knowing what you don't know and knowing what you do know and not caring. So what do you guys think about pre-orders with Amazon? Does that work for you? Have you used them?
I used them and was promptly banned from using them for missing a deadline. So guys, your deadline is on Amazon time, not on Florida time, just so you know.
Okay, and tell me a bit about it. When you say Amazon time is what?
It's Pacific Standard Time because Amazon is on the West Coast. So take that particular deadline to heart. Yes, you have until midnight, but that's not midnight your time. It's midnight Pacific time. I found out the hard way.
Mhm.
So, however, I have heard some rumblings that maybe pre-orders don't work quite as well as maybe we would like them to work yet. I tend to do better within the first couple of weeks. So, I don't know, Chazz, have you done pre-orders? Have you had any luck with those at all?
I have run the experiment and I was thoroughly unimpressed. There's a few things about pre-orders that people ought to know. One is that whoever's in charge of pre-orders at Amazon will send you rude letters. They send these letters that say, your deadline is, April 31st, right? If you don't, it's this whole passive aggressive, vaguely threatening. It's like, hey, man, I know about the deadline. I don't owe you money. Just back off. So, but they write this letter like you owe them money, and it's like
that's a nice book you got there. To see anything happen to it,
it would be a shame if something happened to it. So if you don't meet the deadline, we'll ban you for a year, and you'll be sent to the principal's office, and this will be on your permanent record. So my interactions with Amazon generally with customer service is everybody's pretty polite, but not at Amazon. I found the tone quite relentless and annoying, because you put up a preliminary manuscript, and then you put in the real one, and I have also heard of people finding out that Amazon screwed up in that they released the preliminary one with typos, which would be somewhat tragic. I've also heard of them releasing prematurely. So when you have a premature release, that's often very disappointing to the person you're sending it to. That was vaguely sexual, but
as you do.
It's not generally an issue unless, in this case, these people had all their promotion lined up for, say, the 31st, and instead the manuscript was prematurely released several days early, and so all their promotion lost its steam. The other thing with pre-orders, it's not all about Amazon. In Apple, you can pre-order for a year ahead, and when all those pre-orders build up, and it counts toward a big first day on your actual launch. The things that you have to kind of balance out are, if you have a manuscript that's ready to go, and your pre-order date is off in the future, here you have a book that you could be making money on now, but you've got this artificial date that's off in the future. And that bugs me. If I have a book ready to go, I want to release it. I don't want to hold on to it. Also, if you don't have a large enough email list that will get excited about this pre-order and actually participate, then pre-orders won't have a whole lot of mojo for you. So as far as pre-orders go, I tried it once. I was unimpressed. I will not be trying it again. Probably under any circumstances that I can imagine.
It's interesting that they have that policy of, we're going to ban you for a year, like a bad child smoking in the bathroom at school, when places like Apple and even Smashword have this neat little nifty trick where you can actually change the date on your release schedule. You can actually up your pre-order, because let's face it, life happens. Even if the book is ready, life happens, and you shouldn't have to go before the court at Amazon and beg for a
mercy
basically.
Well, and in particular, the scenario that you posited where it was a time zone issue, that's pretty crazy. I mean, if it comes down to I missed it by 3 hours or 5 hours, whatever, they should not be giving you a huge hassle about that.
Right. But, oh no, I got ixnayed. I thought I got it in right under the wire. I was up for half the night getting the last revisions in, and publish, and yay. And next day I got the nasty ground.
Right. So what do you suggest if both of you have had mishaps with, and I'm using that politely, mishaps with Amazon's pre-order? What do you suggest instead? What is the best way to go about doing this? Just having a hard date and just pushing it then, or just not worrying about it at all? What would you suggest?
I set up most of my books out as soon as I have the cover. I said, because by then I have the cover copy. It's all part of my pre-production schedule before I even start drafting. The cover copy, all those little tidbits of information, and I just save the draft. And then when I'm ready, the book is ready, I upload it, and that's what I publish. But I'm also keeping in contact with my readers, my followers. Oh, and we had a visit from thing 2. Now we have a visit from thing 1. But I'm also keeping in contact through my website, through my newsletter, through my Twitter, my Facebook. Hey guys, this is coming. Here's a preview. There's a buildup of preview and deleted scenes and all things that I do to keep them apprised of status. So, and that seems to work a lot better than a pre-order situation. So, especially since I am.
And sorry, and you, Chazz?
Yeah, I'd suggest you do your own pre-order hype from your own site to your own people. And if you don't have people, then don't worry about it. Whether you're doing an organic release and you're just kind of letting it happen and let it all hang out, baby. Or if you are doing a massive plan with blog tours and bashing people over the head with Twitter and all that nonsense, whatever you're doing, I wouldn't depend on pre-orders in my situation. This is not to say that there aren't people who would benefit from pre-orders, but those people, might do great anyway, one, because they'd be promoting to their list anyway.
Right.
And I'm talking about people with a huge list.
Right. I think the huge list is the key there, because they're going to order it no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's really a question of timing. Do you send out the news that everybody should go buy your book on the first day of the launch, quote unquote, or do you segment your list and go for a sustained burn where you get higher and longer on the charts? Those are all strategies around book launches that demand a deeper conversation than we're having here, but it's stuff to be aware of as far as, if you're just depending on pre-orders, you already, and if it's successful, it's probably because you are already well placed and set up to make that book launch a success.
Right.
And some people would argue that the book launch isn't all that important. They're looking at the long tail of sales. Although I'd say that if you hit a higher and harder on the charts, it's probably because you planned a big book launch and got a lot of sales on one day, as opposed to letting it kind of accumulate slowly.
Okay. That sounds great. Let's go on. Sorry?
I say all good points.
Yes.
Merci.
We're going to go on to our next story, which is it starts off with a bit of a misnomer. It's about the Ripped Bodice, the world's first romance only bookstore, which kind of isn't. Two sisters from Chicago ran a Kickstarter campaign that raised $100,000, and with that, they opened the Ripped Bodice, which is a romance-only bookstore in England. And it is brick and mortar, and it covers all the romance and subgenres from sweet to spicy. Only problem is that this is not the world's first romance bookstore. There was actually one called Intrigue. Now, even though they closed a brick and mortar location in 2012.
Just a quick correction, CK. Ripped Bodice is actually in Culver City, LA.
I thought it was UK.
It's in Culver City.
Sorry,
the inspired one in the UK, I think, or it's just stuck in my brain because they were on the Smart Bitches Trashy Books podcast a few weeks ago, and I remember listening to it.
All right, then you
If you
excuse
hear
me.
them, they're totally LA.
Right. Well, it's totally LA. Well, that makes even more sense. But it also still isn't the first all romance bookstore. The first being Intrigue, which closed in 2012. I'm also doing this by memory, so excuse me. And
Lots of Winkies today.
And in a time where bookstores in and of themselves are closing, is it even smart to have to open a bookstore nowadays, a brick and mortar store? What do you guys think?
Well, I think the Kickstarter there was their social proof because they raised $100,000 to open the thing, and they've got business. They've got romance authors, very popular ones, coming in and doing special events and launches and things, and apparently they're pretty hopping at least during the weekends, which is typical for retail. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they're off to a banging start, which, yay, good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of bookstores specialize, and I wonder how many romance-only bookstores there are in the world. They're saying they're the first, and maybe they're the second. I think they might be like the 23rd or 24th. The reason I say that is when I worked in traditional publishing in Toronto in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a mystery bookstore. I remember there was a cookbook-only bookstore. And the cookbook-only bookstore was right downtown, huge rent, high traffic area in Yorkville, very hoity-toity. I remember the guy who had the thrillers and mysteries only bookstore was as I recall, if I'm thinking of the right guy, he was kind of a dick, but it was pretty successful.
Pun not intended there for the mystery bookstore. Plenty of dicks.
I'm sorry?
No pun intended there for the mystery bookstore.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I meant he was a detective. Yes. I think I also remember there was a bestsellers only bookstore where they were in airports and really high value retail locations where they only had like the top 10 or top 20 bestsellers in nonfiction and fiction. And
it was a very small space.
It was a very small space, and they also sold a lot of Tic Tacs and gum and whatnot. But it was about positioning to, especially if you're hitting like a bunch of mall walkers and travelers in airports. The idea was you're getting people who aren't that into reading. Like they're not looking for a middle-list author. They're going, what's the latest James Patterson? Because I only read James Patterson. No, and there it is on the bestseller list. So positioning yourself as a bookstore to a particular niche and just focusing on that niche, if the niche is big enough and deep enough, and romance certainly is, it makes a lot of sense to me.
To me, it makes perfectly good sense. And it does for the same reason you mentioned. This is a niche. The people who are looking for romance want to be able to go in and browse. There's something to be said about going into the bookstore and picking up books, smelling them, looking at the covers, placing them down, comparing this or that, or just being in that environment where you can talk about the stuff you love to read with other people who totally get it. Right?
I sniff the book glue myself.
Yes, I do. I love that smell. And I turned out all right.
It's kind of funny to talk about romance as a niche, considering that it's 50% of all sales, right? Isn't there some stat about how if you are selling a book, there's a 50-50 chance it's a romance book, and then there are all the other niches. Right. All the other genres.
Well, I think that's a $1 billion industry,
I think that's an umbrella. Just like saying you're going to a bookstore, you're going to read a book. There's different types of books, but you are a book reader, so you go to a bookstore. And they are romance readers. And yes, do they have their biker with tats and Taken by Conifers and For Her One and True Only Love. And then there's the NASCAR ones and the football ones. There are niches, but at the very core, there's the romance reader. And
And what a romance reader is looking for, the store is organized by the trope, aka the catnip, of what customers are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that's a very smart move on their part, because people make a beeline for the catnip. So,
and then every once in a while they might nose around to the toys or maybe the constructs or what have you. And they might see something that they didn't know they were interested in, but they still have that experience of camaraderie, not being the only one in a space where they're safe.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, if I were to open a bookstore, I think I would probably open a romance bookstore just because I would be sure that I would have a good shot at making it work. My first job in publishing was working for Harlequin.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for, gosh, I forget how many publishers I worked for, but I know that Harlequin's the only one who's still open. The rest shut down.
Yes.
Because I burned them all, but still.
And not only that, Harlequin has been like Pac-Man. It goes waka, 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 and been eating smaller imprints and then just changing it and putting something by Harlequin. And so that's pretty much what happened to them. After you burned them, Harlequin came up and ate the ashes.
They turned them into s'mores and ate them up, right?
Right.
In the fires of Chazz's rage.
Well, it's funny. Before I was in traditional publishing, I was a journalist. So everything that I choose turns to garbage. Newspaper industry destroyed. Publishing destroyed. What will be my next target?
And you're a regular you're a Chazzilla. Dun 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 dun. Going and stumping
your
through.
Suggestions too.
Oh, his official Chazzilla is now his new moniker for the podcast.
Chazzilla. Oh God. All right then. So is Amazon being proactive or is Amazon being desperate? According to the Digital Reader, they are actively recruiting publishers to put their authors in the KU program.
I don't know how you could. The people who would cast it as desperate. That's something that's a tag that you put on something that is writhing on the ground about to die.
Mm-hmm.
That's something the losers say to the winners. That's something the jealous say to the people who are crushing them. This is something that the nerds say to the captain of the football team. Oh, he's desperate, going out with the cheerleaders. And
yes.
When they say Amazon is courting these publishers, I think what they're doing is saying, we have another opportunity for you here, and it might work, it might not. Take it or leave it. Here are our terms. So I guess that headline really irks me because it strikes me that it keys into a Amazon derangement syndrome kind of thing. But tell us a bit more about the story, CK.
Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, considering that Amazon is nowhere near dead, they just won a $30 million a contract with the New York City Independent School District to sell ebooks to them. And they're opening up Kindle Unlimited in Spain and in Italy, right? So they are definitely the capital. Yes.
Or as people with Amazon derangement syndrome say, will Amazon recover from this, from another stunning victory?
Oh. Right? When they have all of this, and then now they're going to smaller publishers and saying, hey, look, we have something that has been proven to work so well that we have authors who are exclusively getting their income for it. And I'm going to set aside the argument about whether you should stay exclusively to KU or go wide aside. I'm going to set that aside for a moment. But there are people who are making full livings working on this program. And we want to increase the pool because that has to be part of it to be able to increase the allotment pool. And do you suppose maybe raise that per page payment a little bit?
There was some discussion about how they'll be popping up the that pot in any case. So because Amazon can afford to do that. So the payout will remain steady. It won't go up and down according to the market. They'll set it where they want to set it, basically. Sorry, Kate, what were you going to say?
No, I guess my only concern with this is with the traditional publishers who go for this, are these authors going to be paid properly? I mean, how is it going to be determined with the co-page being paid per page read thing? How are these authors going to be properly and fairly compensated? And is that going to be transparent to the authors on their statements?
Well, that has more to do with the contract that they have with their small publisher. Now, mind you, they are talking about small and medium-sized publishers. So one would think, or at least one would hope, that their contract terms are a bit more transparent, that they have a better relationship with those they go into contract too. But I don't think we as readers, or we as the authors, would have that kind of transparency into that. What do you think, Chazz?
I think if you want transparency, you get the your sales record straight from Amazon. In my experience, a smaller publisher doesn't have any more transparency than a larger one does. In fact, they may be more incompetent in some cases of my experience. So I've edited for some of these people over the years, and holy crap. So as far as KU goes, I've got mixed feelings about it because my confidence in Amazon has been shaken of late, and I have been exclusive with Amazon KU, and I am thinking seriously about, well, not just thinking seriously, but I've got a lot of books, and I'm pulling a bunch out and going wider. But I'm also very conscious of the fact that I have experimented with other platforms in the past, and they suck a whole lot worse than Amazon does. So that's not experience for everybody. Some people find that if they sell a mystery or romance or something on Kobo or Apple, that those platforms are not as price sensitive, and they have had some success there. But I don't know anybody who's had any success, like as far as jumping to a full-time income. Most of those people are certainly on Amazon. I don't know if they're exclusively with Amazon, but that's probably where most of their money is coming from.
Right. And they almost certainly started with Amazon and KU.
Absolutely, yes. Anytime I talk to anybody about a launch strategy, we always start with, well, you start with Amazon for at least the 90 days exclusive contract of that 3 months, and then you move to the other platforms. If you're going to do that, then that's up to you. But you don't start with Smashwords because nobody's making any money on Smashwords. No. Sorry, Smashwords, but let's be real.
Yes, we broke because of you.
We broke because of you.
I beg to differ. I have $1.19 in my Smashwords account.
Oh,
big money.
That is $3 to get your Starbucks.
It's kind of funny that you say we broke because of you. I said that just earlier today to my son.
You will find if that's the first time you said that to your child, you're ahead.
No, I say him to it every day.
Oh, okay.
And then I say, get a job. You're a 13. Come on.
Right. I have grown daughters who don't live in the house, and I'm still broke because of them. How to publish in other countries on Amazon?
Oh, there you go. That kind of happens automatically. You publish to Amazon, and it goes out to everywhere Amazon publishes. If you want to hit countries that where Amazon is not, then Kobo is the place to be.
Right.
But it's all kind of automatic. I think the only thing that isn't automatic is setting up your author profile on Amazon. You have to go to those individual countries and set it up.
You do.
Which is kind of unfortunate, but there you go.
Yeah, when you, Greg, when you upload your book onto Amazon, it takes you through the book uploading, and then it goes to the page where you can tick off your prices for each country as part of the publishing uploading process.
Can you really create an ebook and publish in a week? That all depends on what you write. Honestly, if you write extremely fast, really well, you have an editor who sits there and goes in and works well and fast, and you can get it all done in a week, you can. Do I suggest it? No. 99.99% of the people who say you can are usually doing something called zero content, which is not. Somebody keep me from saying scam.
Why?
Okay, it's a scam because even if you're doing nonfiction with your own experience and something you have expertise in, it takes research, and you really should be meticulous in doing that. This is not a get rich quick scheme, and even though there are some who can do it in a month, which is something that we aspire to, there are also doing in a week is a line of demarcation that truly tells me that it is not quality. And once again, I would take a very critical eye at the quality of the work that is being brought, and especially if they say it's fiction. Right? Let's do one more.
Okay.
All right, then. The 2016 Smashword survey reveals insight on the habits of best-selling authors. Do you want to hear what they say?
Right. Yeah, hit us with that.
Yeah.
Do I want to touch on that touch of salt in your voice, Chazz?
No, I already have
Snicker.
I already have something snarky to say.
So, okay,
then
let me get through this.
Please elucidate.
All right, then. They, according to Smashwords, they have looked at actual retail sales over the last 12 months from March of 2015 to February 2016. And here are what they found. Fiction dominates. Well, yeah, almost 90% of the sales, fiction titles. Even though it has been dominant, nonfiction titles were the top performers, even though that wasn't enough to bypass fiction amount of dollar figures. Bestsellers have a great social media presence. They have a platform, in other words, and it's something beyond going on blogs or Facebook or Twitter and saying, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Romance, accounting for 50%. You mentioned that before, Cate. And new adult romance has the highest average earnings per title.
Interesting.
Which is great. And new adult being college age, which is they have the sprightly, open eye worldview of a YA, but sex. And a new pricing sweet spot. It looks like it has gone up a bit from $2.99. Even though $2.99 still barely edges out $3.99 for the greatest average, it looks like people being very successful with the $3.99 price mark, which is actually good. It was really good for us because that means that people are starting to see the value in what we're offering. What do you think about these? And I'll get to your question in a minute, Greg.
For the most part, the article wasn't. If you keep up with the industry, wasn't really anything that was news.
Right.
And we knew a lot of that already. The interesting bit was on the price points.
Yes.
How things were starting to pop a little bit on that side. So, yay for authors that they can, that their works are now being valued a little bit more than they were previously, maybe. So, happy about that.
Yes. And I'm going to add that number one, the fact that there is nothing new here actually is encouraging because that means that this is being viable. This is a viable entrepreneurial endeavor. And it is also the same things work. There is no get rich quick. It's writing fiction. It is having a platform. It is having that email list. It is, if you're so inclined, romance. And if you love something like writing romance, there's still space for you. And if you are in a subgenre and you're inclined to add more romance in it, there's also a spot for you. There's a lot of flexibility there. And millennials, who are the normal age bracket for the new romance, is emerging, which is opening up. It's the same thing over and over again, which tells me that what we do has a foundation. And then we're being more valued. And now for your daily dose of salt, Robert Chazz Chute.
Take it away, Chazz.
Well, I think I'm riffing on a comment that was on the same article saying, maybe it was on the Passive Voice, someone questioned whether this was actually applicable to, or necessarily applicable more broadly, because it was a survey of Smashword's authors as opposed to people generally. Best-selling on Amazon might mean a lot of, there might be a big difference between best-selling on Amazon and best-selling on Smashwords. Where on Smashwords, if you sell 100 books, that's a big deal. So I looked at that survey and I thought, I'm not going to make any pricing decisions or pricing changes based on that. I'd rather see another survey of
Data Guys,
of Amazon Data Guy. Yeah, the author certainly the author earnings report is something that I take very seriously, and I do read that each time it comes out. But if it comes out from Smashwords, I don't know if it's necessarily applicable to all of them.
But even in the data report, they showed an uptick in pricing as well, which is the reason why I felt confident in sharing this. And when there is, even though there is going to be differences, when there is a consensus about how our industry is doing, that is something to actually derive encouragement from.
Absolutely. It's just what I think authors need to do is look at surveys based on genre more. So they dig a little, drill a little deeper down to see, is that applicable to, say, a category that is incredibly competitive? So if you're writing in a genre that is not particularly thirsty, say, as Chris Fox says, there are hungry genres that have not enough books for a lot of fans who want that stuff. If you are working in a genre that is the opposite of that, where you have everybody priced at 99 cents or $2.99, and you're coming in with $3.99 with a story that is not fresh enough or unique enough, or is just, you don't have enough fans for that particular genre, then you might be pricing yourself out of a lot of reviews initially, and out of the market in the long term. So it's complicated, and I do want to say something about these surveys with confidence, but then when you get into the nitty gritty, as far as what genre are you, and can Space Marine take a price jump to $3.99? I don't know. I don't write Space Marine, but if you do, and maybe Space Marine can, because that's something that is very popular.
Yes,
it's just, I think one thing that might serve authors really well is, yes, certainly, I use the surveys as a basis of my questions, like, am I charging enough? And then I look at what other people in my genre are charging. And if I'm way out of line with them, or if I'm kind of in line with where I feel I have parity, then I feel better about those decisions. And that's all I have to say about that.
Let's take a quick detour to answer this question, then we'll wrap up. 1,000 book sales, how does that look for you? Is that good?
That's going to be largely from a point of view perspective. Somebody like Courtney Milan might think that's not so hot.
Right.
Somebody like me is going to be doing the Snoopy dance. So, I mean, it's all in perspective of how your sales are doing and what you're accustomed to. Because if you're getting 10,000 a week and all of a sudden you drop to 1,000, well, that cuts into your wallet. So
Yeah, if you're selling 1,000 books, but they're priced at 99 cents, then not so great. If you're selling at $4.99, could be awesome. It's just there's when the stock market collapsed, there were people who used to make millions who went down to $1.5 million in their personal checking account, and they were out to split their wrists. So, so I think Kate's right. Yeah, it's totally a subjective sort of thing. But if you hit 1,000 book sales with your first book, or in your first 5 books, whatever, that could be really awesome. Yeah. Especially if it's not your day job.
Right. And not only that, it's not quite enough, not even quite enough. It's a fraction of what's needed to get on any bestseller list of note. And depending on the categories you're in, it may not be enough to rank.
Yeah, that actually puts things in perspective really well, because when you see 4 figures, you go, wow, that sounds great. And then when you put it but it won't get you on a bestseller list, and you could have a really good week at 1,000 books this week, but it won't help you next week. Right. You go, oh, shit, that sounded like it was better than it was.
That's a viable business model that you're using.
Yeah, if you can sustain it, that's awesome.
I mean, that's great.
Oh, what you're looking for is sustainable and always increasing book sales. And that is done by having a quality book, quality cover, quality blurb, quality typo-free, well-written books, and consistent publishing.
And a lot of goat sacrifice.
Yes, a lot of sacrifice.
Okay. Tofu if you're vegetarian.
Oh. All right, then that's all the news I have this friend to talk about. I'd like to thank both of you, Chazz and Kate, for joining me, especially on such short notice. And there is anything you'd like to close with before we go?
You can check out my stuff at allthatchazz.com. Chazz is with 2 Z's, 2 Z's if you're nasty. Come on over to allthatchazz.com, where we spin the platters that matter.
Yes.
I'm over at www.catemorgan.com, Kate with a C. And from there, you can stalk me across the internet.
And I, as always, am at allazar.com, ALLAZAR.com. And Black Gold and Sage, because I named the book, is coming up actually for pre-order on the 29th. And I'm excited about it. And
I'm a good story, guys.
and I'm preparing to be banned. I'm
feeling terrible about shitting all over pre-orders.
So. Well, don't do that. Don't do that at all, because forewarned is forearmed. You warned me, if it goes tits up, I know what happened. I only got myself to blame on that.
Good luck.
Go, Chazz.
God. Self-publishing Roundtable News and Roundup will be going up tomorrow night. And on Thursday, as always, we have our main show. And this week, I believe, is Chris Fox. Isn't that right, Chazz?
We're going to talk to Chris Fox again, because he ran that fabulous experiment to become a bestseller and make it sustainable. And we get to talk to Chris again and see how it worked out. And if it failed, we get to mock him for an hour. And if not, then we have to worship him and kiss his feet for an hour.
Spoiler, I've already got my mouthwash out. And you can see what we're doing too at selfpublishingroundtable.com. For Chazz, for Kate, I'm C. Kate Keller. Thank you. Bye.
And good night.